Hello, hello. Good day. Hello. Hello, hello. Good day. Hello. Hello, hello. Good day. Okay, let me switch over to single cam. Hi. Okay, let me switch over to single cam. How's everyone? Hello. Hi. Okay, let me switch Speak on Spanish. ¿Qué quieres que yo digo? How's everyone? Hello. I like your cut. It's kind of Speak on Spanish. Kind of not bad. Cut it a bit too short, but it's okay. I like your cut. It's kind of wait, I can hear myself. That shouldn't be happening. Okay, so we got 36 on Twitch. I mean YouTube. 38 on YouTube. We got where we at? We got like how many is on Twitch? Why is it not showing me how many there are on Twitch right now? That's weird. Should I keep this up here like that? Let me put that over here. Yeah, we got 13 on Twitch. We got 38 on YouTube. Let me grab this out. So I think my camera is a bit laggy. That's due to the fact that I'm using an app on my phone that lets me send a video feed to a server, and then that sends it back to Streamlabs so I can have a camera in there. And then once you just have like decent lighting, this is an Android phone, so it doesn't look like 240p. It's great. Even though everyone thinks that Android phones look like that, they clearly don't. Like the picture quality is great. I like it a lot. Okay, let's see. What are you guys saying? Feedback stream. What else? What are your thoughts on Tonal Rhythm by Autumn Hay? I think I heard it on Twitter. It was super sick. I can't play it here because I think I'm gonna get like copy striked. I think I'm gonna get copy strike. Hide the free Twitch stuff. I'm gonna move this light over here. Okay. I'm gonna throw on my headphone. Let me take a look at what that looks like. Okay, my hair is ass right now. So, great. I mean, you can't really see it anyways with this background, so matter. Okay. So I think I'm gonna do a live stream every 2 weeks, and if it runs well or if it goes well, I'm gonna do one every week, probably every Friday. Depending on how motivated I am, I might do more inside of a week, and then maybe like on a Monday or something. But usually the Friday is like a good time. Alrighty. Can't read this. I have to put the light over here. Okay. So what are you guys saying? What's good? What's good, Tristan? How do you make the dark vocals in your IDs? Usually just like... I actually figured out a technique recently that I might show you an ID that I made just recently and go over what I did to make it. It's really sick. You can actually hear it in the background here. It's not that loud right now, but I can play it like in full volume. It's pretty insane. Can you go over the vocal processing in your idea playing right now? I can probably. Elidian says ooga booga. Mr. Nasco addressed what's up? What's up, brother? Crow Knight, just do it. Pokemon stream every week. Yeah, I'm trying to do one every 2 weeks, but I might just do one every week depending on how motivated I am. How about you make some deep stuff like Spicy Boys? What Spicy Boys? Is that a track? Spicy? Johnny. Blender stream, please. I might do a Blender stream at some point too. Today I'm creating tear out. Probably not. I might. Okay, so I might do a poll and decide on whether I show you this idea I'm playing in the background, or like we keep working on that future bass thingy or like that future rhythm thingy we did last stream. Because I would love to finish that and make it a lot fatter, because right now it's pretty quiet. Hi, Alpha Being. Can you go over the preset you tried to hide the last stream? Which preset? Oh, no, I can't show it yet. Alidian says, I love you. I love you too, brother. How do you stay motivated? That's a good question. Well, I think you just have to just not force yourself too much. If you force yourself too much, then it can work, but generally, like, you will have to have a reason, or you will want to have a reason to do something. For example, if I go produce, I want to be like, okay, I want to make something really heavy, right? You always have to like have something very simple, like a very simple reason as to why you want to do it, and just stick with that, and then everything else just kind of comes naturally. I feel like that's like a lot of the times if you try and get too many things, you're almost like trying too hard to motivate yourself. So just keep it easy, I would say. The vocals will be the Kara vocals, right? Yeah, and there's actually my vocals in there as well, just as a backing vocal, like as a harmonic layer. Make heavy dubstep, but with a future bass fake out, like, and be there. Yeah, that would probably be sick. Spicy Boys is like a group or collective of deep underground artists that release deep stuff or experimental bass. Okay, I might check him out sometime later. Alpha says, how did you learn Blender? Oh, just out of like curiosity. Because I always wanted like I always did my own artworks. I think I can actually show you. I have an art station. I think I can show you this. Shouldn't be an issue. Let me find myself. I should probably change my name on there. And probably not have as much information on that side as there is, because I don't think it really matters, but I'm gonna keep some of this stuff out. It's not necessary. Oh, this has to be filled out. Okay, I'm gonna put BS, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Okay, check it out. Profile, does it work? Oh my god, there's so much old stuff on here. Let me go over the screen. Okay. Can you guys see this? This is a site where a lot of people post just like artwork stuff and just creative stuff. A lot of creative stuff, actually. There's a lot of 3D objects and stuff they also like sell here, and then there's some free. It's super dope. But most generally, like, people just post their artworks on here. And I actually started doing that as well. I started off with Score, so like my alias was Score before I switched it to Nasco. So a lot of these are actually gonna have this like specific logo in here. This logo, which is like an S and a K. Yes, it's very similar to a different type of symbol I'm not gonna talk about. That was just a coincidence. But generally speaking, yeah. So this is like all of the artworks, I think, until when was this? 2 years ago, probably like 2.5 years ago. This is like the last one I did, like posted on here, which was for my Barely Alive remix. I love this artwork, by the way. It looks super sick. But yeah, so as you can see, like I started off with like doing banners for like other producers on SoundCloud. Actually with Photoshop mostly. Actually, this is like 3D Photoshop. Like Photoshop had like a 3D plugin or effect in there, like an actual like small path tracing engine that you could just like extrude pictures with, and I did that. And then you could just add like a lot of effects on it. It was super sick. So I did a couple of like effects on here. They all look pretty amateurish, but there's a certain privilege, I guess you could say, when you do your own artwork, because first of all, it doesn't cost you any money. Depending on what software you use, of course. If you use Photoshop, it's obviously going to cost you, unless you get it in some other type of way. But for example, like things like Blender are actually just like free, so like it doesn't cost you anything, right? And like other people will want to take like $300 for an artwork, which is okay, right? Like if they do that full time and it's their job, then let them have it, right? Like support the industry. I would actually say like it's probably better to just get someone else to make your artworks, but at the same time, like if you're just not doing it full time at the moment and it's like not worth it, right? Like money wise, do it when you have the money, or just learn it yourself and then just be really good at it. Because if you're not really good at it, then you should only do it until you can pay someone else. But what I'm trying to do is actually just be really good at it. Trying, by the way. Because I have a passion for it. I've always had it. I actually like planned on maybe studying graphics design, like CGI graphics design. I'm really into 3D stuff because I just love it. It's so like creative, right? It's just like replicating what real life is, and then you have all of these like crazy shapes and crazy colors and crazy material that you just wouldn't have in the real world, and it's just crazy. But yeah, so as I said, this is what I started off with. I'm actually gonna switch the song now and switch it back to this tune. Okay, cool. So yeah, I started off with this stuff, like just basically just banners, but I actually did a lot of my own artworks for songs as well. This was just like some random thing. This was actually my first artwork I did for a very old song of mine, which was called Bass Face. It's pretty terrible. It's actually not up there anymore. And then a couple of other ones. This one was really interesting. But generally speaking, I started off doing just Photoshop stuff, and then slowly but surely started getting more 3D elements in there. For example, right here, this was like a 3D element, which looked super dope. But especially this one was crazy. This artwork right here is insane. I personally think it's insane. It's all just made out of like Photoshop, like Google images. That's what this is. It's just like a bunch of Google images just put together, except for these like logos right here, of course. But yeah, then I slowly started to switch over to 3D, as you can see, some of the skull. This was actually also rendered in Photoshop, which is quite funny. But then, for example, things like this, I started to render in other programs, and then at some point I started to switch over to Cinema 4D. So I started working in Cinema 4D. As you can see right here, when I switched over to the NASCO project, this was actually my old logo right here. This was the old NASCO logo. I don't know why. I guess this looks like an N to some degree. Like if you flip it like this, it kind of looks like an N, and then it also looks like an S. But yeah, like I started to do more like complex 3D stuff, like in here, for example. And I think this was still 2D stuff, but it looks super sick. I should probably reuse that at some point, because I didn't really use it actually. But this was like one of my proudest ones, and I think I rendered this in Cinema 4D. I'm pretty sure. I think. Super dope. And yeah, just kept doing stuff in Cinema 4D, and then at some point I was like, okay, this is cool, but I want to do, you know, real-time stuff, because like graphics and like game engines are just like so good nowadays that you can just do things in real time, right? So I started switching to Blender, and then I found out about the Eevee engine, which is a real-time renderer. And ever since, I've just been hooked and trying to make things work. And actually, I could actually probably show you like a project I've just recently done. Using some of the new techniques that I found out and that I've been working on. It's super, super cool because it's just real time. So it renders pretty much in like no time. Let me actually switch over to... Let me turn this off so you can see it. Screen. Okay, so this is the this is Blender. What the hell is going on? Where am I? And this is a scene. I think this is the yeah, we can probably just like get rid of this side. Okay. So as you can see, we're already using the Eevee engine, but like generally what would happen is like, especially in Cinema 4D, we'd have something like a path tracing engine. So like it would take this long to render things actually without optics, because I don't Cinema 4D had that stuff. And this is like how you would usually render your stuff, and it would be very accurate in lighting and would look really cool. But of course, like if you saw like some of the old Beeple stuff, like Richard Wright would also use like some of his loops and stuff and some of his animations. But it's like that stuff is like from a couple years ago, and game engines have gone so far in like how fast they are to render and also give you like close to real-time realistic results, because they basically just mimic path tracing engines, that we can just use a game engine now and it'll look surprisingly similar. This actually doesn't right now. I don't know. I think there was some purple in there. I don't know where that came from. Where did this purple come from? Oh, right there. Okay. It was just because this wasn't in the frame. But yeah. Of course, the lighting isn't going to be as accurate as a path tracing engine, but it also means that we can basically have a whole animation in real time, which is crazy. And the cool part here is that it doesn't take me forever to make the scene and like automate all of the things. I actually managed to make a system that helps me do all of this just with 2 parameters. So basically, I just have something I want to automate with music, and I just click like it's like a, what's it called? It's like a macro basically. Like you can kind of like a macro, like you can map something in a Ableton rack. Kind of the same thing here. And then if you can just add more and more things to it. You can see like the lights going off and on, and like these headlights or these spotlights moving around and all that stuff. And then I got some more detail here on the 3D models. It's crazy what you can do. And there's like even other crazy stuff you can do now, where you can use like really cool techniques to create really like cool looking sci-fi environments with like lots of geometry without it using barely any polygons. And it's insane what you can do. But I think I'm going to do another stream for that. I don't think this stream is going to be that. But yeah, like Blender, Cinema 4D, I guess Maya is also there. I'm not sure if Maya is a good program for this stuff, but those two are like Blender and Cinema 4D are the main ones. You can probably use both. I think there's enough tutorials for both out there. But like Eevee is pretty much like very much future proof, because everything it does is already top notch, and everything they're gonna add is just gonna add to the greatness of it. And when, you know, there's a lot of talk about like real-time ray tracing on like Minecraft and new games and all that stuff. And all of that stuff is super important, because it means that we can at some point implement it into our renders, and then instead of taking 40 minutes for a frame, and imagine you have 16,000 frames. So 16,000 times 14, you can just render at 2 months. Instead of that, you can literally just put this in full screen mode and just screen record it. So instead of rendering for 2 straight months, you can just record it in 3 minutes, which is crazy. But yeah, that's a topic for another day. So that's mainly why I'm into Blender, is because like, especially when there's gonna be shows again at some point, or even actually looking at the let me switch back to single camera. The video I did for my track Waters of Styx, which unfortunately got blocked right when it got out. Even that video I made entirely in Eevee, but this wasn't really using any like of the techniques I was usually doing. This was all just like render a bunch of scenes and then render another scene of the same thing with like more lights and stuff, and like volumetric clouds and stuff, and then like kind of mesh them together and make them react to the music, which worked, but that took like 3 weeks to make. And I don't want to wait 3 weeks to make a visualizer, right? Even if it's dope, but a lot of the things you can see are actually like some of the clips are looped or reused. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. So yeah. That's why I use Blender. And that's why I'm so interested in it, because it's the future of visualizers. Right. Why was it blocked? Oh, because of the track. Because I guess the distributor, Excision or whatever, or Subsidia is like releasing with they always labels always have like certain ways they release the music, and they had it blocked from the beginning. How do you balance music with Blender with making music? Oh, it's a really difficult task. Like Blender is hard to learn, and it'll take you hours to really learn and figure out things. Okay, my voice is cutting. What's going on here? Let me check this out. Can you check? I don't know if my voice is like cutting out. Or is it fine? Is it fine? I don't know if it's fine. Guess I can turn down the threshold a bit. That should work. Yeah, I think it's because I turned down the mic a bit. It should be fine now. I might be too quiet. Your mic is fine. Okay. Let me check. Actually, I might be a bit too quiet. Okay. Anyways, so I'm gonna play two things. I'm gonna play two tracks, and I will let you guys decide whether we want to keep working on the future rhythm thingy we did on the last time, or if you want me to show you some stuff. If you want me to show you some stuff I did on this new track that I'm also gonna play you. So this is, if Ableton will let me do this. This is a new track I just made. I think I finished it yesterday. It was actually because my girlfriend actually liked it on an old song I did, and like it was just a work in progress. It was just like until the first drop. She was like, "You have to finish that stuff." I was like, "Okay," but like that was a couple months ago, and like I'm a lot better now, so I'm gonna make like something better than that. She still likes the old one a lot, but she also like loves the new one, I think. And it turned out great. Let me see where it is. Right here. I actually called it like this. I think I can tell you. Shouldn't be a big issue. Okay. And then we're also gonna throw in the stream tune. Oh, and also, I don't know if you guys saw it, but on my Twitter and on my Instagram, I actually posted a visualizer for the tune I made in the last stream. Huh? My camera is lagging. Is my camera lagging? Oh, what the hell is going on? Okay, let me check this out. What is going on here? Oh, is that better? Looks like that's better. Yeah, I think it was lagging out or something. It still lags a bit sometimes, but it should be better now. Okay. Yeah, I mean the app is a little iffy sometimes. Let me open up that project I made actually. I think it was this. I think. Let me check this out. Yeah, it's this thing. Okay. Like this is some of the stuff you can do with Blender. I actually used I still use some automation in here, which I don't tend to do anymore, but I did it in this project. I don't know why I did that. I actually have a new way of doing these things now, because you can automate anything in Blender with like audio files. And one idea I just had is like if it's so difficult to make keyframes in here because there's no BPM system, you can just drag the audio, like your track, into Ableton and then put the BPM the same, and then just like add little kicks or whatever, or some kind of transient wherever you want to trigger an animation, and that'll work just a ton better. But yeah, this is like the thingy I uploaded. I actually think it's a lot longer than that. Yeah. So as you can see, cool. So yeah, that's something I did in here. Super cool, and I did that in like 2 to 3 hours. So Blender, like once you know how it works, you can just do visualizers so quick. And I think if I switch to cycles, it's not going to look much different. I think cycles is going to look pretty similar. Yeah, as you can see, it doesn't look any much different. So like rendering a ridiculous amount of time for something like this, it's just not worth it. But yeah. Okay, so we got 2 tracks. We got the future bass, future rhythm song from last stream, and I'm gonna play that first, and then I'm gonna play this new thing I made, and I'm gonna let you guys decide what if you either want me to show you some stuff I did on that new track, which I might release at some point, or whether you want me to keep working on that future rhythm thing. Excuse me. Wait, you set silence? Should be hearing something. Oh, you can't hear Ableton? Oh, what the? That was awkward. Oh my god. It was just silence. I thought you heard the song. Okay, I'm stupid. Yeah, I was not using the FL Studio, sire. Oh my god, what the hell? Oh my god. What are you drinking? Coke Zero. I was simping. Oh, of course I was simping. Okay. Dramatic ending. All right, so that was the stream tune. We can keep working on that and probably finish it today. Let's see. Depending on how long I want to stream, I think I'm only going to stream for like 3 to 4 hours. And this is the new tune I did because of my girlfriend. And it's insane. And it's loud. It's really loud. And I hope you like it. And I did a lot of cool things in here. And actually the project... What? I think the project is only like... I actually backed up the project. And it's only 50 megabytes big. Which is insane. But it sounds really, really cool. So I'm going to play it. And it also has my vocals on it.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, yeah. Just like the song, just wait a bit more, this you can't miss. Little drops you're done for, and it goes like this. And it goes like this. And it goes like this. And like this. And it goes like, huh? And like this. And it goes like this. Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, yeah. just vibe to the song. Just wait a bit more, this you can't miss. Middle drops you're done for, and it goes like this. And it goes like this. And it goes like this. And like this. And it goes like, huh? And like this.
And it goes like.
And yeah, that's the end. I think it's like 2 minutes and 5 seconds. So it's very short, but it's very sweet. So yeah, that's the new tune I made. I can play it again if you want me to. Or I can actually like check out the comments of the chat, and you guys can just like throw down some comments you have on that tune. If like you want to see me like if you want to see me show you how I made the vocals, or how I made the basses, or if you want me to show you the project, how I made that thing, or if you want to keep working on that track, the stream song we did last time, one of the two. Okay, so I think I'm gonna create a poll. Is my camera lagging again? Yeah, just a bit. Oh, okay. I'm gonna do another poll online. Okay, straw poll. What's the quick poll thingy? Was it doodle? Imagine if I had my screen share on. What was it? What did we use last time? Easy poll. Come on, give me that. What was I using? Poll maker? Okay, I'm just gonna use this, whatever. New tune or future rhythm? New tune, breakdown, or whatever. Future rhythm. Finish it. Because it sounds dope. So I'm going to create this poll. And I'm going to let you guys decide while I play the song again. Alright, here we go.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song. Just wait a bit more, this you can't miss. Middle drops you're done for, and it goes like this. And it goes like this. And it goes like this. And like this. And it goes like, huh? And like this. And it goes like this. Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song. Just wait a bit more, this you can't miss. Middle drops you're done for, and it goes like this. And it goes like this. And it goes like this. And like this. And it goes like, huh?
Okay. And again, this is the old tune from last stream, which isn't as loud. I'm gonna fix that, but... Okay. So, let me go over the screen and let's reload this. Okay, so we got 77% that want me to break down that tune I just played. And we got 23% that are saying that I should keep working on the future rhythm thingy. So I think what I'm going to do from now on in streams is when people want me to do something from scratch, I'm going to start something from scratch until we get like to the drop and we have the intro done. And then I'm going to finish it off camera because there's going to be a lot of steps that are just like not as interesting on the stream. But until then, I will be streaming that part, of course. But I feel like otherwise, just like for some people, sure, those like 7-hour blocks of stream are going to be helpful. But for most people, I feel like having something new each stream is like really practical. So with that being said, new tune breakdown or whatever is going to be it this time. Jesus. Okay. Let me open up the project, which is like this. Let me close this up. Andrax says, hey brother, what's up? What's up, Dat 420? Vlam says, oh wait, because someone asked how do you get a what was it? JM says, how do you make a bass noise that sounds like the noise you were actually thinking of? I think it's experimenting until a point where, yeah, as Neutral says, experimenting until you get the sound you was like searching for, pretty much. But that's the cool part, like, because if you experiment, you might come up with something new that's even better or even more different. So like always, that's why I don't tend to use presets, because like if you use presets, they can be useful, but if you want a track to like sound completely new, it's always best if you try to make a sound that you have in your head and then have it turn out different. That's usually the better way. But of course, that takes a ton of time to learn. Like, to be able to do that stuff, it takes months, not if even years, to train your ears to be able to do that. So like using presets in the beginning is no issue. Okay, let's open up a screen. Let's go open up the project. So this is the project of like this.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah.
And this song is featuring my own vocals, of course. I think we just got a subscriber. What was that? Cronite is out here. Man, I really need to change those messages. But yeah, so this is the song. It's actually very small, again, as I said, because I used to a couple of techniques that are just like really, what's the word? Convenient, yeah. Because I didn't really wanted to mess around too much with like MIDI stuff. So yeah, this is it. So I actually had a piano at first. I have an old version where I just had a piano, but it sounded kind of cliche. So I changed it to this. I think it's a sitar. I'm not sure. It's a tambour. Sounds like this. And this is without any effects. I think I can press, what was it, 0? Yeah. And then just throwing on a couple of these effects. Lovely. Like most of the context stuff is usually like I always process it. Like any instrument, I will always process it. Because I just feel very OCD about leaving them unprocessed. And then, for example, we have like in the intro we have very, very minimal stuff, which I feel like is always the best for like trappy stuff. It's just like very minimal drums, but they have to hit hard. That's like the important part. They have to hit hard. So these are like some murder samples that I took. I didn't bother really to make my own samples here, but I did process them quite a lot, like with frequency shifting, saturating, and like delaying things here as well. Cutting the hi-hats and like delaying them, using some soothe on them. And especially on this snare, I used the disperser just to give it some extra like that fundamental right there. Like disperser, what it tends to do is like add a little bit of a pitch to whatever frequency spectrum, like range you put it on. Like a pitch drop. It's really interesting, and it helps like fundamentals get that little bit of a, it's like a instead of like a But yeah. So again, it starts out super simple. You have my little vocal sample right here. And one of the reasons why I'm gonna start like using a lot more of my vocals is because of this microphone, right? I'm not only using it to stream, but also to record vocals. Because it's really, really good and it isolates quite well. And yeah, the quality is great. And one thing I like to do is actually I like to make myself an AO8 in Serum, then freeze it, and then just throw it in a sampler and use it.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong.
And I actually use a transient shape on here, just to get some extra like kick vibe to it without actually using a kick, because there's no kick here.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song. Just want a bit more. This you can't miss. Middle drops you're done for. And it goes like this.
Then we have this section where I put these drums in a sort of a room. We've got Salabic, which is out here. Actually, let me check out the comments real quick. Because you guys probably have some questions. Okay, let's see. How to do pitch variations for basses? It's always a trouble for me, even when automating pitch. Okay, so if you are automating your pitch or like your bass, actually we got like 150 viewers right now. Poggers. I hate myself for saying that. I'm never gonna say that again. I'm sorry. The P word. So if you have a bass and you're trying to pitch it, and it just doesn't sound like it's pitching, it's probably because you have some effects on that are like giving that bass a sort of tonality. So like what will happen is, for example, if we go over back to the screen and we add a Serum and we have, for example, a saw wave, right? Oops, why am I not hearing it? So what you can do, you can pitch it around, right? But like if you add something like a comp filter, and then if we pitch it around, it's pitching that comp filter a bit, but it's not really pitching it, right? Because the cutoff is staying the same. It's just like the input is just changing its pitch. So what you need to do is actually just right click on it and then go mod source and then pick pitch bend. And then you have to like so the comp filter also pitches with Otherwise, you get this like weird. Now you can't really hear a pitch anymore. So yeah, that's that. Let's see. Okay, what's up? Let's see. Okay, are you classically trained? What do you mean, like in classical music, or like classically trained in terms of? What do you mean by that, Parasite? Do you know anything about I can't say it. Synthesizing. There we go. Those types of sounds from scratch. I've been experimenting with creating realistic sounds from scratch. Oh, of course. It's like noise, unison, and lots of EQ and saturation. That's just like super important. Removing frequencies, then using saturation to add frequencies, and then removing them again. And like frequency shifting, all that kind of stuff. It's super useful. What's poppin', Space Dubs? Hi, that's the mic I have. SM7B. Yes, it's awesome. I was actually gonna get a Rode. What was it? A1 or something. I think it was like something like that. It's like the standard mic you see everywhere, but it didn't really seem all that great compared to the SM7B. And I was like, okay, if I'm gonna invest into something long term, it's definitely this microphone. What's the mic called? The Shure SM7B. Is it better to shelf low end on the snare rather than cutting it? I wouldn't even really like remove the low end anyways, because like the snare, when the snare hits, you're sideshading everything. So like there's no low end there, right? Like if you're sideshading everything, there's no low end when the snare hits. And like you kind of want it because like snares usually have low end, even like acoustic snares have low end. So like I wouldn't really like remove it. Can we ask personal questions? What type of personal questions? I always feel burnt out when making music. I don't feel creative. I don't know. I made long breaks, but nothing seems to help. Yeah, I think it depends on. I mean, it's not easy at the moment because just like the whole pandemic stuff. I can totally get it, and the whole scene feels like it's kind of like been frozen under the lake a bit. But you kind of have to make your own fun at this point. Like it's if you're just searching, like if you're just making music for like the sake of growing, just for that, it's going to be really difficult to find motivation when the scene is like stagnating sometimes. You always have to keep going, but like most importantly, if you want to stay motivated, try to find other ways, as like other reasons why you want to make it. Like just have fun at it. That's one of the most important reasons. One of the best ways to stay motivated is just like to not necessarily focus on all the stats and stuff and how things are going, because that's always going to demotivate you if there's ups and downs. But like if you just have fun at making music, no matter the circumstances, you're always going to want to make music. So like if the whole scene is a bit frozen at the moment, that shouldn't be a reason as to why you're demotivated, if you get me. Like even if there's a pandemic, that can affect you for sure. It affects everyone, but like you should still have fun at it, right? So like you have to like kind of like figure out why you're making music, right? Have you ever made neurofunk? Of course I have, and it's super difficult. But yeah, no problem, Jonathan. Jonathan. I'm guessing you're German, but I'm just gonna say it in English because I'm worldwide, Mr. Worldwide. But yeah, back to the track. So this is the drum. It's incredibly loud. It's incredibly aggressive. And actually, if you look at all of the back effects here, there's actually none, almost none. There's just me going like. Yeah, that's all I do. That's the whole background effects. It's just that. And then actually in the second part you get a bit more. You get that. But it's so effective because all of the basses have so much like girth to them, and they're like so wide that they fill out the whole spectrum, so you don't necessarily need much else. But yeah, I think people kind of wanted to know how I did the vocals in the intro. I recorded them with the Shure SM7B, and I made sure that the gain was loud enough, it was nicely balanced, so it wouldn't pick up too much background noise. And yeah, I mean, there's not crazy much to it. I do use a technique that's really interesting. It's mainly because of the way I don't want to like pitch down my vocals, just like by turning on the performance. So I'm using a technique where I actually take the whole track and I throw in an elastic pitch on there, which is just like a real-time complex pro. And then I just pitch it up 3 semitones. So by doing that...
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song.
You can actually hear my voice more in there.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, yeah.
So then what I do is what I would usually record, I record in this pitch. So if I just do that right now.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song.
Right? So now I have this vocal.
Don't get it twisted.
And now it's even like now it's pitched up even more, of course, because of the elastic pitch on the master.
Don't get it twisted.
But now what I can do is I can pitch it down -3 semitones with Complex Pro.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong.
And now with elastic pitch, as you can hear,
don't get it twisted.
We're back on the normal pitch of the whole track.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, yeah. Let's vibe to the song.
Which is like super cool, right? Because it's a more natural way of pitching down your vocals rather than like just recording it in this manner. And that's another reason why like female vocals sound so cool when you pitch them down. Like just semitones. You just pitch them down and they sound like men, but they also sound really cool. And like this is a similar technique, right? I'm not using the performance shifter. Like we could probably like record this back up free.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong.
And then we could throw on like an elastic pitch on here. Probably into this rack. In here. And we could pitch down like just the performance.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, yeah. Let's vibe to the song.
We could do that, but as you can tell, it doesn't sound as good and doesn't sound as crisp. So actually just like recording it higher and then like pitching it back down to its initial place is almost like it forces your voice to be higher, but then that wasn't the original track like key, right? So you pitch it back down and so you get a more natural way of like having a lower voice. For example, what I could do is I could just play this.
Don't get it twisted.
We got like don't get it twisted, right? That would almost be too low for me to just like record.
Don't get it twisted.
Like let me just record that.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song.
So you can tell now I have a lot less energy because the notes are so low.
Don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song.
So we have a lot less energy in there. But because I'm moving the whole track into like a key zone where my voice is more comfortable.
Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Like if you just keep going down on your voice, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. You can tell like you lose a lot of energy. So you could just keep like you could just pitch your track to whatever feels more comfortable to you, record it, and then pitch it down.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong.
So we could even go like crazy and we can go up like to 6.
Don't get it twisted.
So record that.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song. Just what?
right? And then we have this. This is even more.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong.
Whoa, what's happening here?
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song.
Whoa, where's all that reverb coming from? Delay, man.
Don't get it twisted.
And then if we pitch that down 6.
Don't get it twisted. Don't.
Oops, without formants.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song.
You get a whole different vibe to it.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song.
But remember, like, the higher you go, the higher you record, the more of a loss of quality we will have. So like 3 was usually a very good like limit for me.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song. Just wait a bit more. This you can't miss. Middle drops you're done for. And it goes like this. And it goes like this. And it goes like this. And like this.
So actually, I had a different version of that again. Like I had an old version of it, which actually went something like this. If I search it up and find it, it should be on my desktop. Where's it at? Stream tune, blend test. Like this. Where is it? Run up, work in progress. I called it. So this is the initial tune I had, right? This is what I worked off of. I made this like, I think in January or February, which is also cool.
Run up in your dick.
But this one's a lot simpler, right? Like it's a lot simpler, and I think this one can get boring pretty quick. For some people it won't, but for some people it will. And I personally felt like it would get boring quite fast. So I decided to make a new version of it. And I actually had a different kick in that drop. I haven't deleted it yet either. It's right here. And I was thinking about whether I was supposed to use, just like in the other tune, in the other work in progress of mine, whether I should use a dubstep kick or whether I should use a trap kick, just like in the intro. So this is the other kick I have, which sounds like this. I would probably like distort that a bit. So that was my other option, but I was like, okay, well this trap kick that I used in the intro, it's got something, right? It's got something. It's very gnarly, and it just makes the whole mixing a bit more interesting. So I went with that, but I still kept the snare, which I also made in my drum synth, and I actually used the convolution reverb here to give it that sort of acoustic characteristic. Let me actually see if we are still on screen. Yeah, okay. So that's what convolution reverb is doing. Then I recorded that into Anderson and then put that into its own sampler and then just added some frequency shifting, did some EQing and some saturating. And now it's super clean. And then I've got my regular rides. These I think I will use until I die, because these are so good. I made these for like at some, I think in 2019 or 2018, I made these for like a schematics pack, and I kept them, and I've been using them ever since, just for every track, because they're so good. They're so clean. And we can get these out. And then just like processing them. It's amazing. But yeah, so I've got this offbeat. And as you can tell, the whole mixer is super clean and super loud and fat. And the master is actually just nothing. It's just a utility that's -1 decibels, and then just a soft clipper with a threshold of -1. So it only starts to like soft clip it at -1 decibels. Up to 0, and then there's just like an output of -0.3. So it's like nothing on here, right? But it's so fat. And I've been doing something with my basses recently that I found to be a bit better for workflow reasons. And that is to actually have a patch. So what I did actually is I would start off with a sound, right? I would start off, for example, with this bass right here. I'm gonna throw that on here. So I started off with this bass. This is messed up. Let me put that in the beginning. What's going on here? Let me get rid of this. What's going on here? Man, this got like all kinds of things on it. Let me just throw on a new audio channel so I can show you this bass. Let's just grab the drop one. There we go. So this is what I started off with. This was just like a serum patch. And I was using 2 flanges in there that gave it that sort of like Terror Squad FM sound. So that's what I started off. I just resampled the bass with a separate sub, which was this right here. And then what I did from there on is I basically, and this is something I did in another track of mine as well, is basically what you do is you make a bass and you make a bass loop. You resample that and you kind of just put it aside, and you start making a variation of that bass, and then you start making completely new basses out of that bass, and you keep resampling those things until you have like a whole library of these different sounding basses. And for example, here we started off with this thing right here, and I ended up at this. This is just a simple, just one hit right now. But yeah. And then I also made this bass. It's just like a growl. And then I got this, which is super cool. That's like using PWM with like a bandpass filter and a notch filter, and then just going into a phaser and then a comp filter. Super cool. And then it just basically had like a library of samples I could use for my track, right? So if I grab this and just throw it into this channel, we just have like all these different samples. And then here's the magic trick I'm doing. I'm using Complex Pro. I'm using Complex Pro to like speed them up, slow them down. And a lot of people will probably not do that because they always think like, okay, Complex Pro has got like bad quality and stuff, and it's gonna make your basses sound weird. But the thing is, if you haven't fully processed them yet, like if they're processed but you can still add something to it, that's kind of like it's almost going to cover up that there's some processing on there, right? Like for example, if we go over to my vocals, they're using Complex Pro to pitch them down. They don't have it on here anymore because I warped it.
Don't get it twisted.
But they do have Complex Pro on there, so you do have some of those artifacts in there. But because there's Complex Pro is right before all of those other effects, all of the post-processing, you can't really tell. You would be able to tell if you did Complex Pro afterwards. So what I did with these bases, I still processed them a bit, as you can see right here. Like I still saturated them a bit. I changed some of the sides. I still EQ'd it a bit. I actually used another really cool technique in here with the ozonate. So it just helps cover up some of those technical difficulties you will run in when using Complex Pro to like warp your bases and stuff. But if you do it right, no one will really tell. Like right here, I can tell. I can kind of tell that that's using Complex Pro. But you can hear right here, for example, we're using a frequency shifter to pitch it down a bit, and now you can't even tell anymore that there's Complex Pro on there. Actually, I don't think there's actually any on there. There might be just a bit. Yeah, just a bit. But even just like, that's the crazy part. As soon as you just move anything while using Complex Pro, just an inch, even less, like even just like a tenth of an inch, it'll automatically switch over to the Complex Pro conversion, which is like some crazy math stuff. And that'll already like give it all of the artifacts that Complex Pro has. So yeah. And then I'm using some really cool techniques in here. For example, thing right here. At some point, I have like a frequency shifter in here that I just turn on for one bass, and then another part I have like a delay on there. So just adding some little details here and there, right? Just to make it a bit more interesting. It helped this tune a lot. And then on another channel, I actually have like some of these other basses. Some of these growls, and I just like layered them onto some of those basses and just cut out the lows. Which it just helps to like give some more character and some texture to it. It just adds some more like intricacies, I guess. And then in the second drop, I also used them as sort of like another bass layer, basically. And then, yeah, so again, very simple, as you can see. You only have like 3 tracks in here. So I don't even have a separate sub, but it still sounds fat as hell. And it works. And the craziest part about it is that workflow-wise, it's amazing. Like all of these flows and stuff, working with MIDI is so tedious. It's so tedious because like you have to be careful with the automations and like all of that stuff. Just using samples is just so much easier and more fun, really. But yeah. And then I had these other like cool ideas of like just like the drop just stopping and me just going like and like this. So basically like using the vocals almost as like filler basses. But then when they hit, everything else is like quiet. So it gives you that in your face effect. So just imagine this live, if you can, ever again with the whole situation. But yeah.
And it goes like, huh? Like this. And it goes like this. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song. Just want a bit more.
And here I actually have another bass for the, instead of the 808, I'm using this. Which sounds super dope. And it's actually not pitch bending anything. It's just a MG low filter. Like just a low pass filter. Right? Yeah. That's just got this like specific curve on it and just like a strong slope. And it's just basically removing and adding those harmonics back in where it almost sounds like it's pitch bending it. Then I'm running that through like distortion and then cutting the high end a bit and then using a notch filter to basically just clean it up a little bit.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong.
But yeah, one of the important things about this drop and specifically is that without the ozonate, I had a big issue, because if you would run this out without the ozonate I have on here on the bases, and what would happen, and especially you could see it on SoundCloud, the intro with the 808
Don't get it twisted.
was like this, and then when you went to the drop, I feel like we're like fiddling around with the Complex Pro and stuff. What happened is that the drop, instead of being like this, just like the 808 part, it was like this, and then sometimes it was like this, and sometimes it was like this. So I was like, okay, how do we get the sub more consistent without adding a separate sub? Because that's just like, who wants to add another like separate sub and just like have to redo all of the pitching and have to like make sure that all of the volume automations like fit the bass type? Like, that's just tedious. So I actually kept using the sub from these samples, especially because they still went through like a saturator and stuff, so the sub was really like thick. And then what I did is I used an ozonate after like pretty much all the processing that there was. And then what I did is I used the dynamics section, and basically I turned off any compression for the mids and the highs. And then on the lows, what I did is I used the limiter instead of the compressor. You can just set the compressor to a ratio 1:1, so it won't do anything. And then I used the limiter, and then I basically just squashed the sub. As you can see right here, it's like limiting it a lot. But basically what it does is just like, it just says like, okay, you have some fluctuation. It's going up and down a bit. And then the limiter just like hard limits it at like, as you can see, like -10 decibels. So it's pretty much just like a straight line. And it gets some little like attack characteristics as well in here. So it gets a little bit of a hit. And then you just push it back up and you get this like really consistent sub. So like if I go ahead and resample 34 audio free, and I go ahead and resample that, you can see you get a really, really consistent sub. And it looks clean. Like, it's super clean. And yeah. Then just add the other one back in. And what's important is that you have this like after saturation or limiting. Because if you have it before, then that sub volume is going to affect everything else. So just have it like this. It's going to clip just a bit. Where's the channel? Like, now we're clipping at 173. Without it, we would be clipping at 0. Not much of a difference, but now the sub is at least just like far more consistent. And now the waveform is actually like pretty much the same. If we open up the audio file, where is it? Let's go like this. Right. So if we like open up this audio file, you can see it's a sausage in the intro.
Don't get it twisted.
And in the drop. And that's what we wanted, right? But yeah. Then for the second drop.
Don't get it twisted.
As you can hear, it like starts to transition into this really distorted part. And basically what I did here is I used another rack. I just activated a rack where I have an EQ8 basically just boosting the sub, and that just goes into a saturator, and then I'm using an auto filter. And this like technique is like loved. I think this technique is used a lot in neurofunk. It's basically just like distorting a bass and then using notch filters afterwards to clean it back up. So like if we play these basses right here, if I took off the auto filter, you get these like some of these terrible low mid frequencies because of the saturation. And then just using an auto filter, like literally just using that auto filter and then on the notch, even though you can't see the spectrum, it's so useful. It's so useful. And it just sounds great. And that's it. Like, that's really it. And that transition into the bass to this like frequency shift part is me just, I think, using this audio effect right here, and then we're just turning up some reverb, turning up the dry wet here, and then turning up the fine detuning, and then at some point like getting out the sub, so it gives it like this washout effect. And then it's just super clean. It's that the snare, and then just like the vocal super clean. And then this bass actually right here, that's also just like this bass right here. And then I think all I did is just like put it to triplets, use it like this, and then just like duplicate it. And then you can do even more than that, like for example this much. And then actually use a different mode. I didn't use Complex Pro. I used texture, and then flex all the way down, and then just a high grain size. And you get some really cool like fast triplet type sounds, which is like super useful.
And it goes like, huh?
And here again, like this bass is actually this bass. But because this one's distorted and using some auto filtering, it sounds entirely different to this one. So you can layer them, which is great.
Like this.
And it goes so.
And you can see this whole track is so simple. Like, we've only got like literally one melodic aspect to it with the 08 and but if you look at some of the pop tracks, actually, like for example Cardi B or whatever, or some of the other like hip-hop artists, they have very simple like beats. The instrumentals are very simple because the focus is on the vocals. And actually these vocals, they have some other stuff on it. I'm using this technique where I'm basically taking an elastic pitch,
Don't get it twisted.
which is just pitched down like an octave, a semitone.
Don't get it twisted.
And then when you layer it, it sounds like some kind of Halloween type voice. What's going on? Huh? Oh, someone's spamming in the chat. Be gone. Be gone, T-word. How do I use it on this channel? Put use on timeout. Rip. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, solar vortex. Vortex. You'll be back in 300 seconds. I hope you think about what you did there. You may apologize after 300 seconds. All right. Let's go back to screen. So yeah, I used another technique on here, which is actually using Isotope Trash 2, just to like boost some of the high end.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong.
And actually, saturating the high end is actually a really cool way to like just give some crispness to your vocals without just like using an EQ, because then using an EQ is kind of like whack for that stuff. And then I used a frequency shifter and just pitched it down like 27 hertz, because this didn't really have a pitch anyways, and just pitching it down.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong.
Just gives it a bit of a robotic voice to it, and it just sounds super dope, because like now this whole voice,
don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong.
It's so full in its spectrum that it just like takes out the whole mix down. So it's great for the intro.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, yeah. Just vibe to the song. Just wait a bit more. This you can't miss. Middle drops you're done for. And it goes like this. And it goes like this. And it goes like this. And like this.
But yeah, that's the project really. There's not much else to it really. What else is there to say? It's super simple, but it's so effective. And of course, I'm using my signature Ryzen here, which is just the Minecraft Steve. I'm using some trap sneeze. And then I'm using like a serum patch I made. A downlifter, which I actually used it as an uplifter. I'm so sorry I did that. And some like back effects. I'm not sure where this came from. I have to actually check it. What was this originally? I don't know. What was this? How did I make that? I don't remember how I made that. Oh, it's an FX. It's BFX 09. I think that was just like a back FX of mine. Let me check. BFX 09. Oh yeah, just pitched that down and then just added some effects to it. Actually, I used a really cool plugin, which is it's called GHZ Lossy. And it basically just, it's just like a compression algorithm, but it's real time. I think it's right down here. And what it basically does is it kind of simulates, it basically simulates you uploading your track to SoundCloud. I'm so sorry. So like, before you upload it to SoundCloud, then after you upload it to SoundCloud. Nah, I'm just kidding. I love you, SoundCloud. But yeah, it basically just simulates this like effect of like a really compressed YouTube video, like kind of like one of those memes, like one of those surreal memes that get like tossed around and everyone uploads it, rips it and then uploads it again until it's just like a couple of pixels. And then this. And it's a really interesting algorithm because it's almost like it removes all of those frequencies spectrally. So it sounds really cool. But I think I just used that on that like on this like back effects. Huh? Like my cam's lagging. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. But yeah. And you have some like other features in here, like phase jittering, packet loss, which is really cool. And like got like what was there as well? Packet repeat is really cool. Like that's a cool feature. I don't know how you would recreate that in maybe in a sample way. You could probably do that with like using a sampler, like using a C3 and then throwing that on there. And then just like getting a like a chord? Or like an arpeggiator. And then just like throw that onto random. And then just turn the sync off. And then you could probably like use some of the flow and then just like change the starting position of this. Probably maybe like that. I have no idea. But it's a really cool effect. It's got some effects in here that you can't really replicate otherwise. So I used that on that back effects. But yeah, super simple track. bot. It's a bot. So yeah, let me check out those. Let's go back to some camera. What are you guys saying? SoundCloud compression be like, yeah. I think they're using like something like called Opus or Otus. No, not Otus. Opus. I think Opus. I'm not entirely sure. It's supposed to be better than the usual like MP3 compression, but like some of the high end is really like suffering on some of those tunes. Okay. Have you guys got any questions on that tune? What pack were you talking about with a hi-hat? I think that's just like a murder pack from Splice. Get a haircut. I think my haircut is fine. I think it's okay. I don't like short hair. Because I actually got curly hair. So when I got longer hair, I can just like flatten it, which I can't do with short hair. Because like short hair, like if you try to flatten your hair with short hair, you can basically just like throw your whole head on a frying pan. It's the same thing. Do you delay your sidechain a little bit, or do you just put it in there and let it do its thing? This is actually really important if you have a kick that has like barely any transient. Then you will hear that little click. But other than that, I don't usually delay it. Marisabi says another difference between compressors and limiters, but when do I know to use one of them rather than the other? So compression, limiting is basically when, how do you say this? So limiting is when you want something to be consistent. Compression is when you want something to sound bigger and louder. And yeah, I mean, that's really it. Like limiters are basically for consistency and for not clipping. With compression, you can actually get some of that like distortion in there if you have like really fast attack times and like low release times. But yeah, you should do a how to sudden death. Oh, I don't think that's. I could probably do that, but like I don't really do that type of music. It's a bit too out of my range at the moment. How did you make the drop zooms in at best? That was with granular synthesis. So I just basically made the intro, and then took that intro and just like ran that through a plugin that's called Quanta. It's just a granular synthesizer, and then I just made pads out of it, and then used those pads on the drop. After Sky says hi, I say hi as well, or I say hi back. 24 hours stream. That would be insane. I don't know if I could. I would have to like play games and stuff. If I could manage to do that. Because I can't just produce for 24 hours straight. I think that would be insane. Can we get Grohl sound design, please? I think you could probably watch like the Belia live video on that. It's really good, and it teaches you a lot about that stuff. I can see Nazca with a fade. Yeah, I have a bit of a fade up here. How do you distort the bass and also made it sound clean? Okay, so when you distort a bass, or like a bass sound, I guess, you shouldn't distort just the whole thing, because when you distort the whole thing, it'll make it sound crappy. So just like add an EQ, add a saturator, and then just like boost the sub. That'll basically distort everything else without it being all too muddy. How did you start? Okay, I got that. Where are we at? Teach us some life lessons. What did I learn recently? Okay, I think one of the things I learned recently is that when you what's it called? Let me translate it. When you snore, I actually didn't know that, but the reason you snore is just because your tongue is like way back in your mouth, and that makes you snore. So if that helps you in any kind of way, appreciate it. Did you make the basses in that tune and just process resample? Yeah, I made the basses and just resampled it. Really, that's it. Any mixdown suggestions? My basses sound low on mixdown. Actually, let me just play a background sound because I can right now. I don't have to do anything in here. Let me go. What am I gonna play? I'm gonna play this in the background. What happened to the Moonboy collab? I think we both got really busy, and so we kind of like just kind of let it sit for a while. Okay, any mixdown suggestion? My basses sound low on mixdown. If I saturate my basses, it gets distorted in a bad way. That's because you're just saturating the whole thing. You're only allowed to saturate the mids and the highs. If you saturate the sub as well, you're basically just distorting the whole thing. Yeah, so just saturate the mids and the highs if it's too quiet. Laroican says, do you consider yourself famous? I don't think so. I'm not famous at all. I think even people that most people would think they're famous might not think they're famous, because it all just depends on like your perspective, right? But generally speaking, I think famous is a very difficult thing to grasp anyways, because like, what is famous, right? Because if a hip-hop artist is famous to you, they might be famous to you, but like that's still a completely different thing to an art and like to an actor being famous. So like it's difficult to think. I think some people know me, but I don't think I'm famous, I would say. I have an Australian Irish accent. It's brilliant. Thank you. I appreciate that. Nasco has noticed me in Discord and YouTube. We're practically friends. I guess so. What are the top 5 plugins you'd recommend anyone? Serum, OTT, Elastic Pitch, Bahana Vintage Verb, and what else? And Soup, probably one of all of those. How did you distort the bass and also made it so clean? Oh, I think I already answered that. Oh yeah. I mean, actually, I might just switch over to the Twitch people, because I tend to spoil the YouTube people. Do I still have the Waters with Sticks project? I think I do, yeah. I usually like back up all of my projects. How long did it take to make this track? Like the track I just showed? You're basically smashing the sound to a ceiling with limiting. Compression is more of dynamic control on the transients. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm checking on YouTube chat at the moment. Am I satisfied with my work so far? I think I am, yeah. Sure. I think there's always room for improvement, but I'm slowly getting to a point where I'm really comfortable with it. And I'm planning on always evolving my sound. I just like keep moving on. Okay, let's keep saying this. Checking this. Did you go through formal schooling for music production? No, I haven't. I started this stuff as a hobby, and just somehow managed to make it into a job. Like, I think most music producers did this. At least like especially in the bass music scene, a lot of them did. Some of them, I think, were studying music production probably, but then just went off to like do music full time. I know some people who did that. So it's more like a gateway for most people. But I feel like most of the music production stuff you kind of learn on your own anyways, because you can just learn all of that stuff online, because there's the resources for it. Any mid-side EQ tips? Low cut at side EQ, low cut at like 100 hertz. Other than that, I don't think there's much you really have to think of. Just make sure you have enough highs in there. Or not too many. Let me see. Show us how to do some sick visuals in Blender. Probably another stream. I might not do this stream. I might do like a dedicated stream for it. Because I don't think everyone in here is really there for that. So I might do another stream at some point, just like talking like strictly about that stuff. Oh, Nuke Music said, yeah, I meant make the track you just showed. I think that took me like 2 days. If it comes down, probably just like one big session, but it was basically two sessions to finish it. Start it and finish it. What's the Ableton skin you're using right now? That's just my own skin. Actually, the reason I made that Ableton skin is mainly because Faceplant was able to make custom skins. So if I go over to here, this is my skin, right? And I love red, I love black. So I decided to go with this color right here. It looks lovely, but what's even better is that when you use Faceplant, you get the same color scheme, which is amazing. It's just great. So if I use like some kind of like effects in here, yeah, it looks lovely. And then you can just throw in like EQ, saturator, glue compressor. It just all fits together. It's awesome. Even I think like using FM is blue, and like some of these things in here are blue too. It's super dope. Paulie says, should main bass sounds be more stereo or mono with stereo back effects? Honestly, your main bass should be very stereo, but it should be very mono compatible. You can have other basses that could be like even strong on the sides, but mainly like you want your main bass to be full range, so you don't have to use that much back effect stuff. Do you use an Ableton template for your projects, and how do you set one up? Yeah, I just use a regular one. Just like if I go in here, screen, if I go to new project, new live set, I basically just have like a group which I call song. Then I have my sidechain set up already. And then I have like drums, mids, which is basically just like the basses, a sub channel, intro breakdown, vocal channel, an effects channel, and then Black Magic, which is just like some transient processing. I don't really use that anymore. I don't really need it. But yeah, you can just like create a project like this and then go to options, preferences. I think it was a file folder, and then you see save current set as default. That's where you can do it. Probably already. Okay, you probably already answered this question, but what are those info you have at the bottom left on your skin? Looks helpful. You mean the waveforms and stuff? That's wave candy from ImageLine. Hi, Crips. Mono-compatible, says I am Ryan. Yeah, mono-compatible basically means that you're not using any effects that would make the sound phase out or like phase cancel itself in mono. So basically, like, let me just show you. I think this is something that is quite important. If we have a bass, right? Let me just like load up one of my basses from my splice pack. Let me see. Like this one. We have the other track in the background. That's kind of annoying. Let me go over here and just turn this down a bit more. So let me go back to the screen. So yeah, if we have this bass, the issue is like if I play this whole track, this bass in mono, it's very clean, right? It's just the same thing because there's barely any stereo on here. But once we turn on the unison, what happens? It gets very stereo. But let's check out the mono side of it. Without it? With it. Let's get it off. Let's get it back in. Let's get even more unison in there. Without it? So what we hear now is like two different versions of it. So this like stereo version sounds normal, and then with in mono, you get this terrible phasing, and that's basically when it's not mono compatible, when it's like phase canceling itself and like comp filtering itself. You don't want that stuff happening, so that's why I don't tend to use unison in here. I tend to use things like dimension expander and stuff. But basically, like, just have some kind of effect that adds stereo, and then just have it be like one of the first effects in the whole chain of effects. Because then what happens is that stereo effect will just run through all kinds of effects that you have, and it'll sound more natural when it comes out of your like whole processing chain, rather than if you add it at the end of everything. Because if you add it at the end of everything, it'll be kind of like Complex Pro, where if you have a bass and then like change it with Complex Pro afterwards, like the pitch and stuff, it'll sound pretty bad. But if you do it before, it'll sound really cool. I think I can probably do this right here as well. Like if I added a prototype and I turned off OTT. If I went ahead and... Oh, this is also another cool feature about my splice sample pack. I mean preset pack. Is that if you have a bass preset that you really like and you would like to use your own post-processing rack on, for example, my 2020 prototype. The issue is that I'm using a multiband compressor in here. So you can just turn on the OTT preset. And I think every single bass preset has this OTT macro right here. Just turn it off. And then you can just use your own OTT or like post-processing. Which is super dope. But yeah, so let's just throw on an elastic pitch. So let's just imagine we rendered out this bass, and now we're using Complex Pro on it, and this is what it would sound like. So now you can hear some of those artifacts. It sounds a little bit paper-ish, but when we put it before the post-processing rack, it suddenly now you can tell. It gives it a different, like... Oh, that sounds sick. Yeah, now you can tell. The quality almost, like, gets reduced if you use it afterwards. Using it before actually gives it a very cool characteristic. But yeah, so that's why you should do the same thing with stereo. You shouldn't use like a stereo effect after the whole chain to make it stereo, but use it at the very, very beginning, so it runs through all of those effects and sounds very natural at the end. Let's go over back to YouTube. Yeah, Elastic Pitch is a very expensive plugin, but it's expensive because it's Complex Pro in real time. It's not in samples, so you don't have to have your project in samples. It's real time. It's crazy. Statica Music is saying, now that you added post-processing, the hyperdimension is being processed. Is that okay? Yeah, of course, of course. Just make sure that the sub doesn't have any stereo. Shuya sagt, kann man daraus denn eine Library von Sounds auch machen? Dann eine Library von Sounds auch machen. Eine Library von Sounds aus dem Preset-Pack? Oder wie meinst du das? Also für dich selber natürlich so privat, aber nicht distributen oder so. Okay, do you think that dubstep is the futuristic music? Or was it something for 2010? I think it's the future of music. But I just think I don't think it's gotten worse at all. Even with the whole rhythm phase, it's not gotten worse. It's just gotten out of radar entirely. I think if you are on a festival, if you are in a club, and everything is set up to look like the future, and everything, you know, like the visuals are like futuristic. The dubstep in general sounds very futuristic because you're basically making music with like these weird sounds, right? That's still something a lot of people don't understand. Is the articulation and the way these sounds are supposed to convey a rhythm and like, you know, something that we can call music. I feel like a lot of people just don't grasp it yet because that's just like, it's not mainstream anymore. Like, right? It's not mainstream anymore. So like Skrillex is so like seen as like the grandfather of dubstep because he was one of the people to do it when it was mainstream and do it very well. But like, I feel like we would have a lot of those Skrillexes at the moment if it were to go mainstream again. A lot of people probably wouldn't agree with me, but I honestly think that we've got so used to dubstep not being mainstream anymore that we can't even imagine what it would be like. And even on TikTok, I've seen some trends where people like made dubstep remixes of it and people loved it. And even my girlfriend like showed dubstep to some of her friends and they were like, it's super sick. Some of them don't like it. There's always going to be people who don't like it. But generally speaking, I honestly think it's not gotten worse. It's just like we just have to keep focus and like we just have to focus on on just like making it. Like quitting it just because there's like sort of a dip right now is kind of just like a weird move to do. Because it could just pop off in the next couple of years, just like it popped off in 2012. Like there's a couple of old dubstep tracks where I'm like, why does this have like so many views, right? Like just like objectively looking at it, it's not like the craziest thing. There's other stuff that's even better that's out now, but it's just because it's just not mainstream. Like people just don't know about it. How are people supposed to judge it like subjectively or even objectively if they don't even know it exists, right? So I don't know. That's my take on it. The only reason why I got into music was because of dubstep. When Skrillex stopped making dubstep, I learned it to satisfy my own self. Yeah, exactly. I think someone will eventually innovate and make it mainstream again. I think that could be the case, probably. But honestly, there's so much good stuff, especially like with Papa Khan's Rain that just recently came out. It got pushed by Marshmallow. It just got like really good stats because it's a good track, right? So I don't think it's even like we don't have to. Everyone's like we have to keep pushing until we get something out of this world that's super crazy. Where I'm like, sure, but also the internet kind of decides what's mainstream. Like honestly, if you take a look at TikTok, there's just like some stuff on there where I'm like, how is this popular? It's not because objectively it's a good thing or like it's just this magical thing that is just like so genius. It's just because people like it and just they just decide, okay, this is something we all are gonna just enjoy. That's why you see so many one-hit wonders, right? Like so many people who just have like one big track and then just kind of like fade away after a while. I feel like there's a group mentality even in the music industry where certain people get hyped up and certain genres get hyped up for a while and they come back down. And I think honestly that dubstep is gonna come back up at some point. It's just like the only thing I think what happened is that it's gotten a bit more difficult for it to go back up because we now just have this like whole range of non-tonal music, like basically just like rhythm, right? I think rhythm is a bit more difficult for people to connect with because it doesn't have much melody in it, and we like from hip hop and stuff, we're all used to melody. But honestly, if you take like a look at a lot of hip hop tracks that don't really use like melody as like the focus point, but more just like the gnarliness and the gnarliness. I don't know if you say it like that. But basically just like it sounds cool. It's not like Ariana Grande, right? Like some crazy melodies, but it just sounds cool. It's just cool rapping. It sounds cool. And rhythm sounds cool. It doesn't have the craziest chords or melodies, but it just sounds cool. So it can work, right? Gnarly, right? Not gnarly. But yeah. Sadek says, I feel like the 808s are overused in hip hop and rap. It kind of sucks to hear it. The wrong type of 808s, I think, for sure. There's some 808s that just sound like, just give me a melody and a fat ass 808 and I'm happy. If the 808 sounds good, if it's used wrongly, and if it's just like someone who's great at making 808s made it, but someone who's not good at using them, it's gonna like ruin it. Hyper says, or Cypher, I guess. Cypher. Things get hyped up because of the music industry, promotions, branding, and the industry plans, in my opinion. Yeah, there's some degree of setup. I guess there's some setup going on. Onum says, man, this is like a dream come true. My favorite music producer that I have been listening to for the past couple of years. Reply to my question. Your growl-based releases dope in my brain. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad you enjoy my stuff, dude. I appreciate it. Yeah, the industry plans turned me off of hip hop for a while. So much fakeness going on. Oh, for sure. Like, I respect the dude. Like, what's it called? Lil Tecca, for example. His stuff is awesome. Like, he's got great sense of flow. But with him, especially, like with some of the other hip hop artists, it's like, they kind of like, they all use the same topics, but it's just sometimes just doesn't fit, and you can tell. Like I had this one song from what's it called again? YNW Melly. Like he made a song about how like he had this incident with one of his friends when he was younger, and his friend died, and he made a track about it. And then he had another track where he was in the perspective or position of his friend. So it was basically just like the perspective being turned around, and it was a good song. It was really emotional. But what was weird is like at some point in the song, it just felt like he ran out of lyrics, or ideas, and he just started rapping about completely different things, about like shorties and how like they're taking care of the gang or the group or whatever. And it's just like, how do you put that stuff, that like regular industry stuff, in a track about like you killing your friend? Like it's really weird. Like there's some weird stuff where it's like very clear that there's a scheme, or like a what's it called? It's basically like the quarter note and dubstep, right? Like rapping about drugs, violence, and like intercourse, and like I guess I can say sex. This is probably not gonna get monetized anyways. It's the same as like a long screech note and a quarter note bass in rhythm. It's the same thing. It's just people don't recognize it because it's just more mainstream. Like dubstep producers and like the whole rhythm community are far more critical of the music, which is okay. I think that's okay because we get better stuff out of it. But I think people let a lot of things slide in hip hop. They let a lot of things slide. Someone here talks Spanish. My country is Chile. I know understanding. Podríamos hablar en español, pero mi español no es tan bueno, entonces tienes que aprender un poco de inglés para entender este video de producción de música. Brady asked, are you going to start making your own vocals like Ray Volpe? Yes, I am. I'm planning on doing that. I might even plan on like doing vocal lessons. Because I just want to have control over my music more. And, you know, having to wait on vocalists and stuff is cool and all, because it gives you tracks a completely different vibe. But I feel like being able to sing on my own stuff, just like Skrillex did on his old tracks, that gave him such a, like Scary Monster's Nice Rice gave it such a unique vibe as well, because of his vocal chops, which was just like his own voice. And his own voice was like really special. And that's just added to the uniqueness. So yeah, I'm planning on doing that. Just like the rap vocals on that track I showed in the beginning. But yeah. Yeah, it makes the music super personalized. Exactly. But yeah, guys, I think this one's gonna be a shorter stream this time. I might do another stream next week, or again in 2 weeks. Probably next week, since this was shorter. I might do the next one a bit shorter as well. Yeah, I'm gonna finish the Future Rhythm track off camera, or like off stream, I guess. And we might do a Blender stream next time. I will have to announce it and make sure that the people who want to watch me do Blender stuff are gonna be there, and not the ones that want to watch me do music stuff. And we might also do a music review. Is it a music review? A live stream review? What's it called? But yeah, I think we did some stuff this stream, and oh, people don't want me to stop the stream. Meme review. Feedback. I might do a feedback stream on another day. I think those will have their own time and place. Me. I love your work, man. I will watch your music stream. I appreciate that. Alright. I think that'll be it. The stream is gonna be up. I'm gonna update the thumbnail in probably today, because it's not as late this time. I think I've been streaming for like 2 hours, around 2 hours. I think that's okay. It doesn't have to be that long. And I hope you guys have a nice Friday. I don't want to take away your whole Friday either. Actually, Coplad says, and real quick, I just want to know how to do pitch bend in Serum, but not with the wheel. Oh, you could just go into the MIDI. You can just, oh wait, I don't think you see my screen. Just like, if you have a note, just press on this little button down here. Go to MIDI control and then pitch bend. And then you have it right here. Oh, that sounded terrible, I'm sorry. Okay. Cool. So I think that was pretty cool. I'm glad you all enjoyed that new track that I showed you. I think I'm gonna release that soon, probably. There's gonna be another track that's coming soon, probably. Super dope. You heard it on one of my other streams. And yeah. I hope you all have a great night, a great Friday. Stay safe. Wear a mask when you go out to public places, of course. And I'll see you around on the next stream, and I'll have some more updates on my Twitter, on my Insta about new tunes, and I'll post a story on YouTube as well when I do my next stream, so you guys can will just be updated there. And yeah, I think that'll be it. Hope you guys have a nice Friday, and I'll see you around.
Don't